So for a quick example, I have my low pass filter being set at 45 Hz, and right here my subwoofers are playing normal. But when I set my low pass filter correctly, what should happen is that I should have an increase of bass playing in my subwoofers right here. So here we go. So as I increase the low pass filter, the bass is getting louder. Look at the difference right there. From the 45 Hz to the 80 Hz right here. That's an increase of bass performance. Yeah, let's go. Everything is rattling. This is how the tweeter should be sounding. That's the higher frequency being played. Your tweeters are only supposed to play the higher frequencies. Setting your external crossover and your external processors for a better performance for your subwoofers and your mids and highs speakers. If you guys are struggling to get the performance you're looking for, then this video is for you. I'll be giving you all the best crossover settings to maximize the performance in your subwoofers and your mids and highs. So make sure you guys drop a like on the video, subscribe if you guys are new, and let's get right into the video. Glah. So this is my external crossover here that I have on my amplifiers, and some benefits of owning or having a crossover on your amplifiers for your speakers in general is that with having a crossover or external processor, what they do is that it will make your tuning a lot more simpler and easier, and it will also bring out the clarity in your speakers and your subwoofers as well. So if you guys are looking to get more out of your speakers with the clarity performance and the loudness performance, I would highly recommend for y'all to get a crossover or DSP. Those are what brings out the clarity in your speakers. Another benefit of having a crossover or processor is that it will also put less strain and stress on your amplifier. So your amplifier won't be overheating or getting hot as fast with having a crossover or DSP. So now let's do some basic tuning on the crossover for a better performance in your speakers and your subwoofers. So coming along on my three-way Clarion crossover here, the first channel y'all are seeing here are for my tweeters. And your tweeters usually plays a frequency from 2000 Hz and above. So coming on my external crossover here, where I would want to set my high pass filter is at 200 Hz. So I will do a rough estimation of where 200 Hz will be at, and then I will multiply the frequency by 20. So I'll flip the switch here. So 200 times 20 should give us a value of 2000. Your tweeters are only meant to play the higher frequencies. If lower frequencies was to be played in your tweeters will just destroy and blow easily on you. Tweeters can only handle the higher frequencies. So with my tweeter being set at 2000 Hz, you guys should be hearing like a tss, tss, tss sound coming out of the tweeter while it's playing. For example, let's play a song right here. Volume a bit. So this is how the tweeter should be sounding. That's the higher frequency being played. Your tweeters are only supposed to play the higher frequencies, which brings out the clarity in your sound. And now when it comes to the low pass filter being set for your tweeters, since our hearing spectrum is usually from 20 Hz up to 20,000 Hz. So setting your low pass filter, you guys don't need to set your low pass filter. So I'm gonna just leave it blank here. But if you guys want to set your low pass filter for your tweeters, you guys can just set it at around 20,000 Hz or maybe 22,000 Hz. My crossover do not have the low pass filter on it, but if your external DSP or crossover have a low pass filter on it, consider setting your low pass filter for your mid-range speakers and your tweeters. And for the output level for the tweeter channel, that all depends on your amplifier gain, on where you set your amplifier gain. Now coming along on my mid-range speakers channel, your mid-range speakers usually play a frequency from 80 Hz, depends on what application your mid-range speakers are in. So let's say that you have a properly built enclosure for that mid-range speaker, you guys can easily get the mid bass you're looking for depending on what sound treatment and enclosure y'all have your mid-range speakers in. Let's say that your mid-range speakers are not in a properly built enclosure or properly treated in the doors. Do not expect for y'all to get the best mid-bass playing in your mid-range speakers. Your mid-range speakers usually play a frequency from 80 Hz to 100 Hz and up. So coming along on my crossover here, I'll be setting my high pass filter at, I'm gonna do a rough estimation of where 80 Hz should be at. So I'll do a rough estimation of here, and from right here I should be hearing a deep tone playing in my mid-range speakers. So let me play a song here. So this is the performance in the mid-range speakers right here. You can clearly hear the mid-bass playing in the speakers. Listen out.
Think I might probably drink out the bottle. Automatic now the coronavirus to the Royal Carter here.
So that was the performance in the mid-range speakers. Well, I have my high pass filter being set at 80 Hz. Now for your low pass filter to set for your mid-range speaker, now the speakers can play up to 5000 Hz depending on what type of mid-range speaker you have. Some mid-range speakers, they play up to 5000 Hz, 6000 Hz, 7000 Hz. So on your DSP or your external crossover, coming on your low pass filter, that is where you guys would want to set your low pass filter for your mid-range speakers. And as I said, the output level is all based on where you have your amplifier gain set at. Lastly, for our bass channel here, we usually set our low pass filter at 80 Hz to 100 Hz. So coming on your low pass filter, where we would want to set our low pass filter is at 80 Hz. So in that way, the frequencies above 80 Hz won't be playing in my subwoofers. Your subwoofers are only meant to play the lower frequencies. But let's say that I had my low pass filter being set at 45 Hz now. What will happen? The frequencies above 45 Hz, you guys won't be hearing in the subwoofers. So in that way, you guys will be losing a lot of performance where your subwoofers shouldn't be losing. So for a quick example, I have my low pass filter being set at 45 Hz. And right here, my subwoofers are playing normal. But when I set my low pass filter correctly, what should happen is that I should have an increase of bass playing in my subwoofers right here. So here we go. I'll be setting my low pass filter at 80 Hz. So as I increase the low pass filter, the bass is getting louder. Look at the difference right there. From the 45 Hz to the 80 Hz right here. That's an increase of bass performance. Yeah, let's go. Everything is rattling. So setting a low pass filter for your subwoofers can affect on how your bass is gonna sound. You can lose a lot of bass performance if you guys have your low pass filter being set incorrectly for your subwoofers. Now coming over on the sub boost level now, where I set my sub boost level is at around 36 Hz. That's because that's the frequency I enjoy listening the most when it comes to my bass playing, and I boost that specific frequency at 9 dB. So with my sub boost level being set at 36 Hz now, what will happen is that the 36 Hz frequency will be sounding more louder than the other frequencies. So the 36 Hz frequency will have a higher peak than the other frequencies. And that's basically how the sub boost level works on the external crossover here. When it comes to using your DSP now, your DSP won't have this specific feature right here, but it will have a similar feature to it where you guys can actually use as well. But with the crossover now, it will be more advanced for your subwoofers here, but when it comes to the DSP, it fits more for your mid-range speakers, and your highs. And that will be one of the best crossover and DSP settings to set for your subwoofers, your mid-range speakers, and your tweeters for a better performance. If you guys want to learn more tips and tricks on how to better your performance for your sound system, you guys can always check out my YouTube videos. Hopefully you guys find this video very helpful. Be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll be catching you guys in my next video. Love y'all guys. Peace.